The screen cast an eerie, shifting blue glow onto Olivia Rossi's face in the otherwise pitch-black room. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, a blur of practiced precision, the only sound the rapid-fire clack-clack-clack of the mechanical keys and the low hum of her custom-built PC. Sweat beaded on her forehead, not from exertion, but from the focused intensity, the sheer white-hot need burning in her chest. Tonight wasn't about hacking for the thrill or for some shadowy client. Tonight was personal. Tonight was the culmination of 2 years of simmering rage, meticulously planned, obsessively detailed. Tonight, Evan Thorne was going to learn what it felt like to have everything ripped away. A final decisive enter key press, a cascade of code scrolled impossibly fast, then stopped. A single green word appeared. Access granted. Olivia leaned back, a slow, predatory smile spreading across her lips. It didn't reach her storm-gray eyes, which remained cold, hard chips of flint. "Hello, Evan," she whispered into the darkness, her voice rough with unshed tears and the ghost of past betrayals. "Ready for your reckoning?" 2 years ago, Olivia Rossi hadn't been a ghost in the machine. She'd been sunshine personified, vibrant, trusting, her future seemingly mapped out with Evan Thorne, the charming, ambitious financial advisor she'd met at a charity gala. He'd been dazzling, sophisticated, whispering promises of shared dreams, a penthouse overlooking Central Park, a life cushioned by success. Olivia, an exceptionally talented but naive data security specialist for a prestigious firm, had fallen hard and fast. She'd poured everything into their relationship. When Evan mentioned struggling to secure seed funding for his revolutionary investment platform, Thorn Oak, Olivia hadn't hesitated. Using her access and skills, strictly against protocol, a line she'd never dreamed of crossing, she'd meticulously compiled sensitive market forecasts and proprietary algorithms from her firm. Not to steal, she'd fervently told herself, just to borrow the insight, give Evan the edge he needed to secure legitimate backing. He'd looked at her with such awe, such gratitude. "You're my secret weapon, Liv," he'd breathed, kissing her passionately. "This changes everything. For us." The platform launched. It was an instant, stratospheric success. Evan became the golden boy of finance, splashed across Forbes and Bloomberg. Their life became a whirlwind of luxury apartments, exclusive parties, designer clothes bought for her with his new, seemingly limitless wealth. Olivia watched, initially thrilled, then increasingly uneasy. The borrowed data had formed the bedrock of Thorn Oak's predictive models. She started gently probing, asking about the firm's original research, about ethical safeguards. Evan's charm would flicker, replaced by a steely dismissal. "Don't worry your pretty head about the boring details, Liv. Trust me. Enjoy the life we've built." Then the hammer fell, not on Evan, but on her. Her firm uncovered the data breach. The evidence was undeniable, traced directly to her credentials. Olivia stood in her boss's office, the panoramic view of Manhattan suddenly feeling like the edge of a precipice, as the cold, furious words rained down. "Gross misconduct, unethical, illegal. You're fired, effective immediately. We'll be pursuing legal action." Stunned, betrayed, Olivia raced home, the opulent apartment Evan had leased for them feeling like a gilded cage. She found him packing a sleek leather duffel bag. "Evan, what's happening? My firm—" "They know. They fired me." Evan didn't even look up, his movements efficient, detached. "I know. Took them long enough." He zipped the bag shut. "Look, Olivia, this was always a calculated risk. Your risk, I never explicitly asked you to steal that data, did I? You chose to do it. For us, you said." He finally met her eyes, his gaze devoid of any warmth. But us? That ship sailed. This, he gestured vaguely around the apartment, was fun. But you're a liability now, a massive one. My lawyers advise 0 contact. Consider this goodbye. He walked out. Just like that, leaving Olivia standing amidst the expensive furniture, the designer clothes suddenly feeling like sackcloth, the crushing weight of her own stupidity, and his callous betrayal pressing the air from her lungs. The legal battle that followed was brutal. Evan, shielded by expensive lawyers and plausible deniability. She acted alone, obsessed with me. I had no knowledge. Escaped unscathed. Olivia, stripped of her career, reputation, and savings, fighting the charges, reduced but still devastating, faced financial ruin and a future shadowed by the breach. The world saw her as a scorned criminal woman. Evan Thorne sailed on, richer, more admired. The Sunshine Girl died in that apartment. In her place, forged in the fire of humiliation and rage, was someone else, someone cold, someone patient, someone very, very dangerous. Olivia didn't crumble. She vanished, sold the few possessions Evan had inconveniently forgotten to return, used the meager proceeds to buy a burner laptop, untraceable prepaid phones, and a one-way bus ticket to a nowhere town in Nevada. She rented a tiny, cash-only room above a dusty hardware store. Her new life was monastic, relentless physical training at a no-frills gym, and hours upon hours honing her digital skills in the shadows of the dark web. She learned new hacking techniques, social engineering, financial system exploits. She wasn't just rebuilding, she was weaponizing her talent, her singular focus, Evan Thorne. She became a digital ghost, meticulously infiltrating every facet of his life. She mirrored his phone, cloned his emails, accessed his home security cameras, watching him with a succession of beautiful, vapid women, each a dagger twist. She learned his routines, his vices, a penchant for high-stakes poker and insider tips disguised as market intuition. His deepest insecurities masked by bravado. She discovered Thorn Oak's success wasn't just built on her stolen data. It was a meticulously constructed house of cards. Evan was skimming client funds, running a sophisticated Ponzi scheme to fuel his lifestyle and cover risky, off-book investments that were failing. The platform's genius algorithms, mostly smoke and mirrors, propped up by constant influxes of new investor money. It was breathtakingly audacious and destined to collapse. Olivia just needed to find the exact pressure points, the digital Jenga blocks to pull to make it fall exactly when and how she wanted. And she found them. A complex web of offshore shell companies Evan used to shuffle money. The identities of his silent criminal backers who expected hefty regular returns. The encrypted ledger detailing every fraudulent transaction. It was all there, buried under layers of security Evan arrogantly believed were impenetrable. Olivia copied everything. Her revenge wouldn't be a knife in the dark. It would be sunlight. Blinding, scorching sunlight. Tonight was execution night. Olivia, clad in dark sweats, hair pulled back severely, was a conduit of focused vengeance. She wasn't just inside Thorn Oak's main server. She was inside the very core of Evan's personal financial fortress, his private air-gapped server hidden behind a false wall in his home office. She'd spent months planning this physical breach, exploiting a vulnerability in the building's smart HVAC system she'd discovered, allowing her remote access to bypass the air gap during a scheduled maintenance override she'd subtly manipulated. On her screen, Evan's entire financial universe unfolded. Personal accounts, the intricate network of shell companies, the secret ledger, communications with his backers. It was a digital map to utter ruin. Methodically, surgically, Olivia began her work. First, the diversion. She triggered a series of sophisticated, untraceable denial-of-service attacks on Thorn Oak's public-facing platforms. Alarms would be blaring in their IT department right now, drawing all attention outward. While they scrambled, she worked inside the heart. She initiated massive, seemingly legitimate transfers. Millions siphoned from Evan's personal offshore havens into accounts controlled by charities, women's shelters, organizations helping victims of financial fraud, retraining programs for ex-convicts. The money wouldn't stay there long. It was a wash cycle, obscuring the trail before vanishing into the cryptocurrency void, but the record of the transfers from his accounts would remain. Next, the shell companies. With a few keystrokes, she altered ownership records, transferring control to dummy entities she'd created months ago, paper trails meticulously forged, digital signatures replicated flawlessly. Evan Thorne was no longer the beneficial owner. He was just the fall guy. Then, the pièce de résistance. The encrypted ledger detailing the Ponzi scheme and the illicit backer payments. Olivia didn't delete it. Deletion could be recovered, disputed. Instead, she unencrypted it. She stripped away all its digital protection and embedded it, along with damning email chains and financial records, deep within the public shareholder reports, scheduled for automatic release on Thorn Oak's website at 9 a.m. Est tomorrow. Buried in plain sight, waiting to detonate. Finally, she accessed Evan's communication logs with his criminal backers. Using sophisticated voice and text synthesis software trained on hours of his recorded conversations, gathered from his mirrored phone, she composed messages expressing panic, messages hinting at betrayal, messages accusing them of leaking information, messages designed to sound like a man about to cut and run, blaming everyone else. She scheduled them to send from his secured channels moments after the shareholder reports went live. She left one final touch. On Evan's personal desktop, the one he used daily, she planted a single, plain text file. It contained just 2 lines. Remember the data, Evan? Interest accrues. With a final, satisfying keystroke, Olivia scrubbed her digital footprints from his system, leaving no trace of her intrusion except the chaos she'd orchestrated. She shut down her laptop, plunging the room back into darkness deeper than before. The blue glow was gone. Only the embers of vengeance remained, glowing hot within her. The next 12 hours were an exercise in excruciating stillness for Olivia. She sat in her sparse room, curtains drawn, monitoring the digital world through multiple anonymized feeds. She watched the Thorn Oak IT team fight the phantom DDoS attacks, their confusion palpable even through status reports. She saw Evan's encrypted messages to his lawyer, frantic, demanding to know if she could be behind this, the paranoia already setting in. Good. At precisely 9 a.m. EST, the automated systems pushed the quarterly shareholder reports to Thorn Oak's website. For a few minutes, nothing. Then the storm broke. Financial news feeds exploded. Bloomberg terminals lit up like Christmas trees. Headlines screamed, "Thorn Oak embedded fraud ledger in shareholder report." Ponzi scheme unmasked, Thorn's empire built on sand. Illegal backer payments detailed in company documents. Panic ensued. Trading in Thorn Oak was halted. Client portals crashed under the weight of withdrawal requests. Olivia watched the live feeds from outside Thorn Oak's gleaming headquarters. Reporters swarmed. Police cars arrived. Suited executives stumbled out, faces ashen. Then Evan's messages to his backers hit their inboxes. The synthesized panic, the accusations, the implication he was fleeing. Olivia saw the responses flood in, furious, threatening, laced with promises of violence. One backer, known for his ruthless efficiency, simply replied, "Location confirmed. Package en route." Olivia felt a chill that had nothing to do with vengeance. She hadn't ordered violence, but she'd unleashed forces Evan had made deals with. The thought was unsettling, a dark smear on her meticulously cleaned plan. Minutes later, her feed tracking Evan's penthouse security cameras showed the moment he accessed his desktop and found the text file. She watched his face, usually so composed, so arrogantly handsome, contort in dawning horror, then raw, animalistic fear. He read the 2 lines. His fist slammed down on the desk, sending a crystal paperweight flying. He screamed, a guttural sound of pure terror and rage, into the empty room. He frantically started typing, trying to access accounts, but Olivia had already initiated cascading freezes through the banking networks on his holdings. "Access denied," flashed mockingly on his screen. He grabbed his phone, dialing frantically. Olivia, monitoring his line, heard the lawyer's grim voice. "Evan, it's over. The SEC, FBI, they're all here at the office. They have warrants. They're coming for you next. Don't say anything. Don't do anything stupid." Evan sank to his knees, the phone slipping from his hand. The camera captured the exact moment Evan Thorne realized he wasn't just ruined. He was utterly, completely destroyed. The empire he'd built on her stolen trust and labor had collapsed, burying him alive, and the world knew exactly who he was. A profound silence settled over Olivia. The rage that had fueled her for 2 years didn't vanish, but it shifted. It cooled, solidified into something quieter, heavier. Satisfaction? Yes, deeply. But it was laced with the acrid taste of the violence she might have inadvertently set in motion, and the hollow echo of the life she'd sacrificed for this moment. The fallout was swift and brutal, playing out on national news. Evan Thorne was arrested at his penthouse, a shell of his former self, trying futilely to burn documents in his fireplace. His mugshot, haunted eyes, disheveled hair, was everywhere. The charges were staggering: securities fraud, wire fraud, money laundering, racketeering. His assets were frozen, seized. Thorn Oak was dismantled, its investors facing devastating losses. Olivia followed it all from her Nevada room. She saw the tearful interviews with elderly couples who'd lost their life savings, the angry small business owners ruined. A pang of guilt, sharp and unexpected, pierced her armor. Her revenge had consumed Evan, yes, but it had also rained down collateral damage on people Evan had already victimized. The sweetness of her vengeance suddenly tasted complex, bittersweet. One news segment focused on the mysterious, massive transfers made from Evan's accounts just before the collapse, funds sent to charities before disappearing. Speculation ran wild. Was it a final act of remorse? A desperate attempt to launder money? Or something else? Olivia allowed herself a small, grim smile. Let them wonder. Weeks turned into months. Evan sat in jail, awaiting trial, denied bail as a flight risk. His world had shrunk to a concrete cell. Olivia's world. What was it now? The burning purpose was gone. She had money, siphoned carefully and anonymously during her hack, enough to live comfortably for a long time. But what to live for? She started taking long walks in the desert, the vast emptiness mirroring the void inside her. The rage had been her compass, her fuel. Without it, she felt adrift. She thought of the charities that had briefly held Evan's ill-gotten gains. Maybe. One crisp morning, Olivia packed a single bag. She didn't look back at the dusty room. She drove east, towards a city where no one knew the name Olivia Rossi or the scandal surrounding Evan Thorne. She rented a small, nondescript apartment under a new, carefully constructed identity, Maya Reed. Maya Reed kept a low profile. She found a remote job as a freelance data security consultant, leveraging her formidable skills ethically this time, helping small businesses fortify their systems against the kind of predators Evan had been. The work was challenging, satisfying in a quiet way. She donated anonymously significant sums to the charities that had been unwitting conduits, focusing on those aiding financial fraud victims. She avoided news about Evan, but it found her sometimes. His trial was a media circus. He pleaded not guilty, blaming rogue employees, technical errors, even hinting at a mysterious hacker frame job. But the evidence Olivia had planted was too deep, too damning. His own synthesized messages to the backers sealed his fate. He was convicted on all major counts. Sentencing was pending, but he was facing decades in federal prison. One rainy afternoon, months after settling into her new life, Olivia, Maya, received a heavily encrypted email. It wasn't traced, routed through multiple anonymous relays. The subject line was blank. The body contained only coordinates, longitude and latitude, and a date and time 2 days hence. No signature. Her blood ran cold. Had Evan's backers found her? Had some digital breadcrumb led them to Maya Reed? Paranoia, an old companion, flared. She spent hours scouring her systems, her new identity, finding nothing. The coordinates pointed to a remote, scenic overlook in a national park hundreds of miles away. Curiosity warred with caution. Was it a trap? Or something else? The meticulous nature of the message felt familiar, almost professional. After a sleepless night, Maya decided to go. Not as Maya Reed, but prepared. She drove a rented car, paid cash for everything, wore nondescript clothing, and carried a concealed panic button linked to a security service she'd anonymously hired. The overlook was breathtaking, a vista of rolling green hills and distant mountains shrouded in mist. Maya arrived early, scanning the area. Only one other car was parked nearby, a sleek black sedan. Leaning against it, staring out at the view, was a woman, late 50s, impeccably dressed in a tailored pantsuit, silver hair styled perfectly. She radiated an aura of calm authority. As Maya approached cautiously, the woman turned. Her eyes, a sharp, intelligent blue, assessed Maya without surprise. "Olivia Rossi," she stated calmly. Not a question. Maya tensed, ready to bolt. "Who are you?" "My name is Eleanor Vance, retired mostly." A small, knowing smile touched her lips. "I spent 35 years at the SEC, chasing down men like Evan Thorne, men who thought they were too smart, too connected, to ever get caught." Maya remained silent, her heart pounding. "I followed the Thorne Oak case very closely," Eleanor continued, her gaze unwavering. "Too perfectly imploded, too elegant. The data breach years ago that started it all. The fired specialist. The vanished whistleblower, if one could call her that." She paused. Then the transfers, the immaculate planting of evidence, the timing, the manipulation of his communications. It bore the hallmarks of someone exceptionally skilled, someone with intimate knowledge, and a very personal grudge. Maya felt exposed, vulnerable in a way she hadn't since Evan walked out. "I don't know what you're talking about." Eleanor chuckled softly, a dry sound. "Please, spare us both. I'm not here to arrest you, Olivia, or Maya. Frankly, proving anything would be challenging and counterproductive." "Then why?" "Because I recognize the artistry," Eleanor said, her voice softening slightly. The cold fury channeled into flawless execution. "I've seen the devastation men like Thorne leave behind. I've consoled the victims you saw crying on TV. What you did." She sighed. "It was vengeance, pure and complex, brutally effective. You destroyed him utterly. And you exposed a viper's nest that would have taken us years, maybe decades, to unravel conventionally. You saved countless future victims." Maya stared at her, stunned. "Approval? From the SEC? "But," Eleanor continued, her tone turning serious, "it was also incredibly dangerous. Reckless. You played with forces, those backers, you couldn't fully control. You caused collateral damage, however unintentional. And you sacrificed yourself, your own future, to do it." The word struck a chord. The guilt, the hollowness resurfaced. "What do you want?" Maya asked, her voice barely a whisper. Eleanor pushed off the car and walked closer. "I want you to stop vanishing. I want you to stop wasting that formidable mind on ghosts and vengeance." She held out a plain white business card. Only a name, Eleanor Vance, and an encrypted email address. "I consult now for select clients, governments, institutions, sometimes individuals who need protection from the thorns of the world. People who need someone who understands the shadows, but can walk in the light. Someone with your unique skill set and perspective." Maya looked at the card, then back at Eleanor's sharp, appraising eyes. "Why me? After what I did?" "Because you did it," Eleanor said simply. "And you walked away. You didn't revel. You didn't try to profit wildly. You even tried in your way to give back. That tells me something." She offered a genuine, if small, smile. "Consider it, Maya. Redemption doesn't have to mean prison. Sometimes it means using the darkness you know to protect others from it. The world needs watchdogs who've seen the wolf up close." Eleanor turned and walked back to her car. She paused before getting in. "Don't answer now. Think. When you're ready. If you're ready. Send an email. Subject line: Overlook." The black sedan pulled away, leaving Maya alone on the windy overlook, the business card a tangible weight in her hand. Below, the mist began to clear, revealing the verdant landscape stretching towards a horizon she hadn't truly looked at in years. The embers of vengeance had cooled. The path ahead was shrouded, uncertain. But for the first time since Evan, it wasn't defined by rage or ruin. It was possibility, a chance to build something real, something lasting, using the very skills that had destroyed her old life. Not as Olivia Rossi, the betrayed, or Maya Reed, the ghost, but as something new, something forged in fire, tempered by consequence, and offered a fragile, unexpected chance. She looked down at the card again. Eleanor Vance. Then slowly, deliberately, she slipped it into her pocket. She took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the clean mountain air, and turned her face towards the emerging sun. The road back wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in a very long time, Olivia Rossi, the woman who had become Maya Reed, felt like she might actually have a road to travel. And maybe, just maybe, a purpose beyond the ashes, the end.